Yes, good evening, Nidhini. I think you missed out on a few lectures.
Yeah, actually, last lecture, what happened is that I had joined it online, but I was never admitted in. And I called Surjeet ma'am, but I got to know this today that she has off on Saturdays. So I missed last class. But
No one admitted you. And before that, what did you miss out on?
last to last class, I was out of town, and that's why I wasn't able to attend. In last class, for last class, I'll take the recorded session.
Okay. Did you go through the recording?
No, I haven't got the recording yet. Like, as soon as I get it, I'll go through it.
So you missed out on quite a bit. Okay, now what today we are going to do is we are going to go back to whatever you have missed out on in the initial lectures. So is there something in the initial lectures that is say sessions 1 to 5, anything you missed out on?
No, just for the last two sessions, I was there.
Okay. Because you're from the C4 batch, no? I think C4 batch joined in later with WL. So which are the ones you didn't do in with James? I missed session 16, 17 you missed with me. 6 and 7. So you did 1, 2, 3 and 4. Yeah. Okay, 6 and 7. Okay. Any other? Nidhini, is it the same with you? Did you miss 6 and 7 with JMSO?
Yeah, I did 7th session and 6th also. Yeah, I did 6th and 7th.
You attended 6th and 7th?
Yeah, I was there for both of the sessions.
You were there. So you were there for all the sessions till 8?
Yes.
Okay, no, 6 and 7 I took. I'm talking about the ones till the 5th one.
Yeah, I attended all the classes till 7th session, and just last 2 English classes I missed. Rest I attended all.
So 6, 7 you have missed out on, and from 1 to 5 you've done all of them. Nothing else.
Also, ma'am, I had a small doubt.
Yeah.
So I was practicing language questions, and I wasn't able to figure out why we use hyphen, that small dash which we put, like what's the use of it.
I think you missed out on the, did you miss out on the punctuation session?
Yeah, I wasn't there.
You weren't there, yeah, that's why you have not picked that up. Okay, I'll clear your doubts. So you missed out on punctuation, and I think then you missed out on ninth. Nidhini, you haven't attended 7 and 8 then. But those are the 2 we did together.
Oh yeah, then I didn't attend those.
Yeah. So one more. I think I did. No, we did 6 and 7 together, and then 8 and 9 together. 8 and 9. Okay, so we'll do one thing. I'll go back to 6, 7, 8, and 9 so that we can revise what or just pick up on whatever you have missed out. Right? And anything before that which is not clear, say the conjunctions, the modifiers, Anything you have doubts in? No?
No, ma'am.
And what about the later ones, that is the ones which I have given for homework? Oh, okay. Okay, anyways, we just begin with whatever we have start on. So session 6 was about, we'll begin with session 6, right? Hello, Nehal, good evening.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, Nehal, please have your video on so we can interact in class. If I can't see you, I don't know because it doesn't show otherwise. The blank screens don't show. So if you don't have your videos on, I won't know you are there. So Nihit, are there any sessions you have missed out on so far?
I don't remember the session, like the topic which was taught right like then.
You go through your book and just see the sessions which you haven't attended.
Okay, 1 second.
And yes, please do have your video on. So can you do it first so that you can begin? Right? Nihit, please have your video on.
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise, you won't be able to interact. Okay, so now coming to the session 6, you will begin here. So this was a chapter about pronouns and how and the rules behind the pronouns, right? So when we talk about pronouns, what do we usually mean? They're the words which replace the nouns.
No.
Now, when we're talking about something replacing the noun, there are other forms of words which can also replace nouns. Yeah. Say we are talking about gerunds. Yeah. What are gerunds? Yeah.
Or plus the ing form.
Ing, but what is the function of a gerund?
It replaces noun.
It doesn't really replace a noun, but it is a verb which acts as a noun. Say singing, running, These are words which can be used as nouns. Yeah. So you have to, when we are identifying, say, verbs and subjects, we have to know whether a word is used as a verb or it is used as a subject. Yeah. So that's where this is important. Now, when we talk about infinitives, the to-do form of the words, how do they come in? Now, when we're talking about these, the main purpose of picking these up is that they are used as nouns and they come in as singular. The to-do words, like I would want to, or to do something. Say, or you can say to crack the SAT exam. So what is it? To crack the SAT exam. That's a to-do verb, but it comes in as a singular, right? So that's the purpose of knowing what the to-do verb is. So you have to be, in SAT, the main thing is to identify. So when you're going to identify an error, to get to the correct answer, you should know what you are, what you need in that sentence. Yeah, whether you need a subject when you're talking about, or a pronoun, what is the pronoun referring to, whether it is singular or plural. Say any pronoun that is replacing a common noun, say she, he, all these are this, that, these will come in as singular. Yeah. Now, if there are if you have something like what, how did you do it? What is it? Always comes in as singular. So in a sentence, when it is being used, you have to know how it is coming. Another important thing about nouns and pronoun relationship is what the clarity of what the pronoun is referring to. So known as the pronoun antecedent. Now, if you have a pronoun which is being used and there are two or more subjects in a sentence, then it should be, the sentence should be written in such a way there's clarity of what the pronoun is referring to. So usually we come up with who or which. Now, what is that who or which referring to? The subject should be clear. Yeah. And another thing the pronoun is used for is to reduce redundancy, like not repeating the noun too often. So these are the two things you can remember. When you have singular nouns, what do they replace? They would replace individual names. Yeah, like he, she. And when you're talking about plural, it becomes they, them, etc. Now we have done this example, remember? Those who have attended that session. In this sentence, Rusty walked to the store. After Rusty arrived, Rusty realized that there are lots of places where the noun is coming in. Now, some of them can be replaced with pronouns. Yeah, not all of them. Now, if you replace all of them with pronouns, what will happen? Again, the same redundancy factor will come. Repetition. Yeah. So you have to see which ones can be replaced, which ones we can keep. So maybe alternate, not exactly alternate, depending upon what the sentence is. So the first sentence we keep Rusty because that's the introduction. Then in the second sentence, we can say after he arrived, Rusty realized that he had forgotten his wallet. Right? Then singing angrily, we can, and because this is a separate sentence, we can keep Rusty or we can replace it with he. Right? Both ways would be correct, depending upon what, of course, is given to you. Now, when you talking about pronoun ambiguity, Nidhini, what is pronoun ambiguity?
I'm not sure about it.
I just said something about it. When there's no clarity of what the pronoun is referring to. That's what we call pronoun ambiguity. And this is you will come across these type of questions in SAP where there are two or more subjects and then you are given a pronoun and there's no clarity of what it is referring to. So you have to look for an alternative or the option which is correcting that error. Yeah. So now if we talk about, say, where we have certain nouns, Jim, Jerry, and Frank were best friends. Unfortunately, he never talks to them anymore. So when you have something like this, you have pronouns he and them. But is it clear what the he is referring or who the he is referring to and who the them are referring to? No, right? So what do? We change the format of the sentence. Right?
Ma'am, but if we just get the clarity of who he is in this sentence, then there is no need to like give clarity about them, because then it's obvious that it will be the other two.
Yeah, it will be the other two, but then we have to mention the other two. Them again would be all the three of them together. So remember, any sentence that you, even when you are writing, whether it's your token essays or your application essays, there should be clarity. Any sentence structure should be clear. When you're combining sentences, there also you require clarity. It's not only about pointing out the error. It's about any sentence which should be clear what it is talking about. So concise, clear, and what was the third thing that SAP always requires? If you have to keep in mind. One is concise. There should be clarity of what the subject is referring to or what the pronoun is referring to. And we need active words. Yeah. When you're doing the exercises also, if you have two sentences or two options, both of them seem to be correct, what do? Go with the one which is concise and the one which has active voice. Yeah. If you have two options, one is passive voice, one is active voice, the one with active voice will be the correct answer, not the one with passive voice.
So the one which is concise and one which has active voice. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in case you have two options, both are grammatically correct, both fit in. Yeah. Say you have two options in sentence combination. Both are grammatically correct. One is concise, one is a little more wordy. You go with the one that is concise. But again, there should be clarity.
So by concise, what is it, like what it is actually meant by concise? Like?
Concise means like there's no repetition of thought or repetition of words. Yeah, I'll come to concise.
All right.
In this first, we'll go to concise ones. Say in this one, we have to at least point out one of them who is the he. Unfortunately, Jerry never speaks to. You can say them. Now here again, if you say them, it's not very clear. So the other two can be better. Yeah.
No, but
So,
it's kind of clear because like we have already picked Jerry.
yeah,
So it's
them
kind of
is
clear that
okay.
the
But now suppose you have an option which has one which has them, another which has other two anymore. Which is clearer?
other two. Yeah.
Other two is clearer. Yeah. So always go with the best option. SAT, when you read the questions, you'll always find it says which is the best possible option. Yeah. So always go with the one which is better. Okay, now here's where we have come across ambiguity even further when we talk about relative pronouns. So this comes in between, say, clauses. You have two independent clauses or one independent clause and a dependent clause. And you come across words like which, that, who, whom, when, where, etc. Those are combining two clauses together or two thoughts, yeah, or two subjects. There's where we come across some. So in these type of sentences, we also come across something what is called focus. Now, when you are combining, say we have this sentence. The title game blew record ratings on television. The title game was attended by thousands of people. Yeah. Now, to combine these two sentences, what will you do?
We'll use which.
We'll use which. Yeah. Now, which is referring to the title game, right? Now, when you're combining the two sentences, if you see the example given to you, title game, which was attended by thousands of people through record ratings on television. Yeah. Now, what is the focus of the sentence?
True recording.
Attended by thousands of people.
Attended by thousands of people. There are two things. Both the sentences have two specific subjects coming. Now, in the first one, it is drew ratings on television. Second one was attended by thousands of people. Now, the same game, the title game, which was attended by thousands of people, and it drew ratings. Why? Because it was attended by thousands of people. Right? So your focus over here will be what? The thousands of people comes first, and then it drew rating. Yeah. So in the two sentences, our common subject is the title game, and we are talking about both of them, like the two different aspects of it. So the focus has to be maintained.
I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in here, instead of joining was attended by thousands of people, we can also join do record ratings on television, right? With which, so the title game, which drew record ratings on television, was attended by thousands of people. In that case, do record ratings will be
Here is where your a little bit of logical analysis comes in. Now, SAT is not just about grammar, it's also about logical thinking. Yeah. Now, if you look at the sentence, what is the logic behind the two facts that are given to you? A game, say you're talking about a football game. Yeah, FIFA. Now, if the stadium is empty, will it draw rating?
no.
No. So, if you take that logic, if it is attended by thousands of people, it's going to draw better ratings. Right?
Yeah.
So, if you take it that way, what is the main focus then? It was the title game was attended by thousands of people as a focus. And because of that, it drew ratings. So, what comes first?
Attended by thousands of people.
Attended by thousands of people. Yeah. So whenever you're combining sentences, you have to see what are the facts given to you and what is the logic behind it. Yeah. Don't go by just combining the sentences grammatically. Logical analysis is also required.
All right.
Okay. Now we come to a few rules of using these conjunctions. Now, say we have the sentence. Now, instead of which, would you be using that?
No, because there is a comma before after title.
Yeah. Other than that, what else would determine whether to use which or that?
When we use which, we are talking about a specific event, and here the specific event is the title game. So that is another reason why which should come instead of that.
And when would you use that? Highlight the reason for the title game. When you are talking about something that is important, yeah, which is the focus of the sentence maybe, or when, say, we take an example. Now that first of all, whether in a sentence which will come in or that will come in, grammatically, if you see, the comma determines whether which comes in or that comes in. There will never be any comma before or after that. Whereas if you have a comma before which, it is correct. Yeah, that's one factor. Now, secondly, okay, here we have two sentences. The tool which had helped me finish the project was now missing, and the tool that had helped me finish the project was now missing. Do the two sentences mean the same? Apparently they do, right? Hmm? Hmm? But in the first sentence we use which, the second sentence we use that. And that is what makes a little bit of difference. If you read the first sentence, the tool, comma, which had helped me finish the project, comma, was now missing. Right? Now, the part of the sentence between the commas is which had helped me finish the project. If you read the sentence without the part in the comma, remove it, the tool was now missing. So what is important in the first sentence? The tool was missing. And which had helped me finish the project is an additional information. So in this case, which will come in? Yeah, because here the tool helped me finish the project is not important. The tool went missing is more important. Right? So the which and that, when you in a sentence, if there is which or if there is that, you can differentiate between the importance of the fact that is being portrayed. Yeah, that is being put forward. Now, in the second sentence, it says the tool that had helped me finish the project was now missing. Now, what is important in this sentence? Yeah, the tool helped me finish the project is important. So there's where you use that. Okay, so when you are talking about something which is important to you, you would use that. If you're talking about something which is an additional information and not crucial to the sentence, which will come. Okay, so that's a little logical difference between which and that. Apart from the grammar, where if there's a comma before that, it will be wrong. Then you will look for an option which either doesn't have the comma before that or has which after the comma. Right? Other than that, say if you are using the words which and that or that, you have to see what are you focusing on. If you are focusing on something that is crucial to the sentence, you will use that. If you are focusing on something that is not crucial to the sentence, which will come. Okay.
Is it like so that we can have comma after which?
We don't use comma after which, we use comma before which. Yeah, always before which, not after. Okay, so these are some important differences which you should know. Now, using who and whom. So what is the difference in the usage of who and whom? Belonging to this possessive. When you're talking about possessive, then whom comes in. Yeah. Or in a sentence when you're using who is your teacher or whom will you report to? Yeah. Or you may say the principal is Mr. X, whom we report to every day. Right? So you have already talked about the person, and whom is coming in as referring to the same person again, but in a possessive form. Right? So that is the difference between using whom and whom. Okay, now this is important. When and where. Now, one place we usually make an error is, say you read the sentence, we live in an era where it's possible to access information quickly. Right? So what does that mean?
When we use when in a sentence, then we are like referring to a time period, and where is like mostly used if a place is mentioned.
Right. So when you are referring to a time period, you will never ever use where. Right? So if we say we live in an era where, that's a mistake. So since, when, or, and say centuries ago, when, you'll never use where when referring to time period. Yeah? Time means when. Okay. Now something that usually comes up is the pronoun agreement. Now, what does the pronoun agree to? Pronoun agrees to the noun. Yeah. So we have always to search for the subject that the pronoun is referring to. Yeah. Now, if the noun is singular, pronoun will be singular. If the noun is plural, pronoun will be plural. Yeah. And the pronoun will also take the gender of the given subject. So the pronoun should always agree with the subject in both gender and number. This is what you have to remember. Same thing goes with verbs. Remember? We will come to verbs again later. Now there's another thing which SAT questions usually come up with. You must have come up with these when you are doing the exercises. They and it. Yeah, SAT tries to confuse you with they and it. Yeah, so you have to be very careful. Now, in any sentence, what is the main thing that you have to be careful about? What is the subject? Identify the subject, identify the verb, identify the pronoun. So if any pronoun comes up and it is underlined for you, you have to first see what the subject is. If the subject is singular, your pronoun will be it, right? If the subject is plural, pronoun will be they. Okay, that is when you're talking about collective. Now, when you're talking about collectives, usually a collective pronoun is treated as singular or plural. Collective noun is treated as singular. So the pronoun that comes up with the collective noun will be singular. Right? Say if we talk about city council or the police, the government, it's always the parliament, it's always singular. Any organization will always be referred to as singular. Right? But if we refer to the city council members, that becomes plural, because here we are not referring to the city council as such, but the members of the council. So when you are reading a sentence, be very careful of what the subject is. That is one of the main things we usually tend to slip out of. Okay, another thing that is important would be usage of one and you in a sentence. Now, if a sentence has one on, say there are two clauses, one clause has you in it, the second part of the sentence will also have you, which will not have they, one, it, anything else. So if you run 5 miles a day, you will become fit. Yeah? Or if it begins with if one runs 5 miles a day, it will be one will become fit, not you will become fit. So any sentence which has one or you know that number one, it will be singular, and both the sides of the sentence, both parts of the sentence should have the same word. One to one, you. Yeah. So usually, if you come to the SAT questions, they'll usually give you one in one part of the sentence and some other word in the other part of the sentence. So whenever you come across at one, you are alerted. What is on the other part? You have to look.
Sentence comes like, if you run like run 5 miles a day, run 5 miles a day, comma becomes straight, you can make it.
One becomes straight. The subject should be this.
They use comma just before relating.
That will be a little bit of grammatical error. If you say if one runs 5 miles a day, become fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, two people. No, if one runs, now that if we take that particular sentence that they say, is it grammatically correct? No, right? So either you would say you should run 1 mile a day to become fit, or if one runs 1 mile a day, one will become. So it can't be a mixture of the two. Yeah. Now, one of the favorite questions in SAT, you'll always get one, no matter what, is it's ITS and IT apostrophe S. This is something you should never miss out on. Yeah. So this is easiest question and something we are sure to miss out on if you are not very careful. Right? So it's is the possessive pronoun ITS. IT apostrophe S would be
It is.
It is. Yeah. So when you are in a hurry in your recipe to finish off, and one of these questions comes up in the last passage, don't miss out on it. Okay. Now, another thing that comes up is that and who. Now, say we have this first sentence. Coaching can be difficult for people that have a hard time planning strategy on the field. Would be incorrect. Why? What does that usually refer to? Yes, Nihit, what does that usually refer to in a sentence when you're using it as a pronoun?
Like the most important part.
No, other than that, what would refer to? Like you have to say, coaching can be difficult for people that have a hard time planning strategy on the field. Is that correct?
No, no.
No.
Focusing
It will
on
be-
people and that is expression.
Not really. That refers to something which is inanimate. That doesn't usually refer to people. When you're talking about people, you would be saying who, not that. Yeah. So in the usage of that and who, when you're referring to people, you would say who. When you're referring to organization or anything which is not a person, you would say that. Even with animals, you can say that. But when you're talking about people, you would always refer to them as who. Right? So your coaching can be difficult for people who have a hard time planning, not that have a hard time. On the other hand, if you're talking about an organization, say the second sentence, second example, the scientific establishment, there you would say that and not who. So you're talking about an organization. So when you're referring to a person, it will be who. When you're talking about an organization, animal, or any object, it will be that. Okay? So these are things you know, but when we are doing SAT, we have to be extra careful about this. Okay, now, yeah. So now some more examples on the pronoun ambiguity. So here's what we call the pronoun agreement error. Joshua wanted to give Rob his computer later that day, but he was out of town. Anything wrong with this? It's not clear who it is referring to, right? It may be Rob or it may be Joshua. So in that case, we have to look for an option which is reconstructing the sentence and bringing about clarity. Yeah, so what can we say? Joshua wanted to give Rob his computer, no, whose computer? Joshua's or Rob's, that's also not clear. So Joshua wanted to give Rob Joshua's computer later that day, but Rob was out of town. That could be an alternate. Yeah. So whose computer and who was out of town? Both of these should be clear. Right? So when you get such a question, first figure out what is the subject. Is the pronoun clear? Now if you look at this one, the football players were all multi-sport athletes. As only a basketball player, I admired that about him. What's wrong here?
In the first half of the sentence, they've mentioned football players, that is plural, and at the end they've mentioned him. So him is singular. So it can't be like plural.
So any pronoun, now you know that any pronoun that comes up in a sentence, what do?
It should be them instead of him.
Yeah. So what is the strategy then? Any pronoun that comes up, you first have to see what is it referring. Is it referring to a singular subject? Is it referring to a plural subject? Is it clear what it is referring to out of the many subjects given to you? Right? Now we go into some. Here we're talking about this meant. Now it took me 12 hours to travel from Los Angeles to Mumbai. This meant that I was very tired when I reached my destination. Now apparently it may seem correct, but again, according to SAT, there's a little ambiguity in this sentence. So we have to make it clear what that this refers to. This is out of one of the previous papers. So when we talk about this, it took me 12 hours to travel, or 12 hours, or just my travel, that we have to make it clear, right? Now this meant what meant? The travel meant, the Los Angeles meant, the 24 hours meant. So to bring us, so I was very tired is a simple way of changing it. Or this fact meant can bring about a little more time.
Can we use hence in this particular
Yeah, you
sentence?
can say hence I was tired. Yeah. And then if you look at this one, usually you will be getting these type of questions, not a single sentence. So during the Industrial Revolution in India, resistance groups sprang up to protest the mechanization of the labor force. Workers associated with this began to break the burn factory machinery to protest what they saw as unfair treatment. Now, your underlying part may be workers associated with this. Yeah. Now, what is this referring to?
The faction.
You have to go back to the previous sentence and see what are the subjects that are coming up. So identify the subjects. When you identify the subjects, what do you find? There is industrial revolution in England. That is one subject. Yeah. And you have a resistance group. That is the second subject. Now, what the workers associated with this? This is referring to the industrial revolution or the resistance group? The resistance group. Yeah. So now to bring about clarity, we have to add something to this. Now, if you look at the solution, they've added this faction. So that faction means the group. Yeah, when you're talking about faction, what does faction mean? A group, a part of a group or a group. That is what the faction is. So workers associated with this fraction began to break and burn factory machinery would be correct. Now here's where we talk about using who. The decision was made by the director wanting to organize the group in a more efficient way. Now, yeah, if you look at the sentence, we do use it that way. But again, when you're talking about OCT grammar, that doesn't bring about clarity in the sentence. So, the decision was made by the director who wanted to organize the group. That brings about a little more clarity. So better clarity, wanting to organize, that if he wanted to organize it can be replaced by wanting to organize. But grammatically, when we talk about it, who wanted to organize is better. Right? Now, the difference between the possessive and the contraction, your and you apostrophe RD. Your is used as possessive. So in this sentence, it will be you are. Yeah, not good. So here was some examples. Had you done these examples in Lidini?
Yeah.
Okay. So Charlie, you can do the examples to see if you've understood what we did so far. Yeah. And okay, now all these exercises in the particular chapters, have you people done them or they're still pending? Hmm. 17, 18? No, the 15, 16, 17, 18 were given as homework to test yourself, not only in doing the question, but also in time. So those are the exercises where you have to time yourself. So 6 minutes per passage. When you have 3 passages together, 20 minutes, do the passage, enter the answer also. That way you have to be able to do this. Yeah? Because ultimately it is not only getting the answers correct, it's also finishing in the time. So you have a limited period of time and you have to have that much of speed to finish. So speed and accuracy both have to be balanced. So those last 4 exercises, last 4 sessions are meant for that. Okay. Okay, now we did pronouns. Now coming to the noun-noun agreement. What do you mean by noun-noun agreement? Yes? Anyone with noun-noun agreement?
Ma'am, if in the first half of the sentence, if plural form is used, then the second half should also be used with the plural. Plural.
Okay.
Like it should be plural, plural, or singular, singular.
So if you have a singular subject, then you will have a singular pronoun or a verb. If you have a plural subject, you will have a plural pronoun or a verb. Yeah, that's a simple form. Yeah, coming to that. Okay. So now depends upon what the subject is. Now, if you said Tim and Jim, that becomes a plural subject. So what will your verb be? Verb will be plural. Your pronoun will also be plural. Or whatever the second subject is, should also be plural. Yeah, so in this case, want to be teachers will be correct, not all teachers. Yeah. Now, if you have two or more subjects. It's in this one. After they graduated, Evan, Lincoln, and Joseph became a businessman. That is incorrect. Became businessmen. Meanwhile, Ethan continued to pursue his dream to become a lawyer, because there's only one single subject referring to that word. Now, when you are talking about, say this one. During our panel, we came up with an answer to all the questions that were asked. Any wrong here? We came up with an answer to all the questions. Hmm? So what should we use? It says with an answer to all the questions. Now all the questions practically won't have just one answer, right? So it will be came up with answers to all the questions. So the "and" over here will be included. Now when you're talking about abstract nouns, do we use them as plural or singular? Say emotions like love, anger. In abstract nouns are always used as singular. Yeah. Say love for reading, or love for something, or say empathy for something. So whenever you have an abstract noun, it will always be singular. Say this one is love for his wife. It will not be was shown by the many books of poems, but is shown or was shown. It is in the past, right? So these are the few things about nouns and pronouns. Now coming to your question about if we have two subjects. Yeah. Now if you have two subjects, if you use and, then you would use a plural verb. Yeah. Or whatever comes after will be plural. Now suppose you have two subjects, one is singular, one is plural. Yeah. Say, and you have either or neither nor. Say if I say neither Charul nor Nidini attended the previous class, or wants to attend. Will it be okay?
You can't use wants because the subject is plural.
Hmm? Neither Nidini nor Charul. So whenever you have, one thing you have to remember, whenever you have neither nor, either or, your subjects are not treated as together, they are treated as separate. Yeah. Now the second, first of all, when you have either or, either X or Y, whether you are going to have R or is or any other verb, whether it's a plural verb or a singular verb, is determined by what? The subject clauses. Yeah. If the subject closest is singular, your verb is singular. If your subject closest to the verb is plural, your verb is plural. Yeah. So if I say either the boys or Nidhi, that will be wants to go. Yeah. So when you have either or neither nor, what you have to keep in mind? you are treating you are treating the subjects as
Single.
different entities, single entities. Yeah. So, and what determines the verb? The one that is closest to the verb. If the singular subject is closest to the verb is singular. If the plural subject is closest to the verb is plural. But if you have and, say x and y, irrespective of what comes first, your verb is plural. Now there's a third situation, along with. Say x along with y. No. There's a difference. Now when you say x, when you say x along with y went to the movie. Who is the focus? X. X is the focus. So your verb will be according to x, whatever comes first, right? So this is one exception to and. Along with or as well as, then the verb is determined by the first subject. So here comes the first subject, right? Okay, let's look at this example, the first one. Look at the underlined portion. Miss Nehat, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Ma'am, first one, I think the answer will be C.
Answer will be C. Okay. Yes, Charul, what's your answer to this one? C, why? So we check the covers of all the books in that section. Yeah. So all the say when you are referring to cover, it refers to the all the books. It will be plural. So what about second one?
Ma'am, for the second one, I think it should be B. Option B.
Okay, have you read all the words underlined? Read all the words underlined. look at what is singular, what is plural, what is the pronoun referring to, or what is the subject referring to. Read the sentence underlined, identify what is wrong with it, identify the error. And then look at the option which will give you the correct sentence. Still confused? Something very simple.
Ma'am, it should be cats instead of cat because in the first half, R, a special type is mentioned, so that's plural. So the second sentence should also have plural. So
Is it B?
Okay. Feet is what? Singular or plural? Plural, right? Was a singular of feet? Foot. Right. So if you look at the sentence, yes, Nihit, what was your answer? You were saying something. Sorry, I couldn't get it.
D.
D or B?
D.
Okay. So now if you look at this, it says polydactyl cats are a special type of cat. Yeah. Now polydactyl cats is the category. Yeah. So that's a group or a special type of cat. Now that can have 7 toes on each. When you say each, you won't be saying each feet. It will be each foot. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
Mom, but like it doesn't sound correct. It rather should be polydactyl cat is a special type of cat because
You
like
can say polydactyl cats. So polydactyl cats is a group of cats which belong to a particular, say, species. So a species of, when you talk about a species, there are lots of cats in that species. So different types of cat belong to a certain species. So that's what they call polydactyl cats. So polydactyl cats are those which have 7 toes on each foot. That's what they're saying. Yeah, are a special type of cat. So when you say a special type, you won't say a special type of cats. A special type of cat. A cat, and it belongs to that type. Right? So your only error here was each foot instead of each feet. The rest of them are quite simple. Okay. Now in session 7, what was your problem? Yes, Nidini and Niyat, did you have any problem with session 7, subject verb agreement?
No.
no, ma'am.
Let's see. I missed out on this. You had missed out on this one also. Now, when you're talking about the subject verb agreement, same as we did earlier, what do? First, we look at the subject, identify the subject, the verb, then we identify the verb. Singular verb usually takes a singular is referring to a singular subject. Plural verb usually refers to a plural subject. So same as the pronouns. So identify the verb, but they could be a little complicated when you have longer sentences. I'll say this one. The number of citizens backing the proposed changes has increased. So here, what is the subject? Your verb is has increased. Read carefully. The number of citizens.
Yeah, the number of citizens had increased, not the like proposed thing. So it should be have.
So what is the main subject?
Number of citizens.
Number of citizens. Now here, what is the main subject? What has increased?
The number of citizens who are backing the proposed changes, they are increasing.
So now if you look at the number of citizens, that itself comprises of two subjects. One is number, one is citizens. So what has increased? The number has increased. So in this particular sentence, it is not a compound subject. The subject is the number. So when you say the number, you won't say have increased, it will be has increased. Right? So whenever you have a compound subject, break it down and see what is the verb actually referring to. Right? So in this case, when we say the number of citizens and backing the proposed changes has increased. So what has increased? It's not the changes that have increased or the citizens that have increased. The number has increased. Yeah. So it's not the number of citizens that is a subject. It is only the number that is a subject. Okay. This is tricky, but you have to remember this. So usually when you are, so that's why I said over and over again, whatever sentence comes up, you have to be able to identify what is the subject that the verb refers to or the pronoun refers to. Right? So if you have more than one verb in the sentence, then also each verb, what does it refer to? Now the each rule again comes in when you're talking about subject verb. When you talk about each, it's always singular. So each teacher, or if I say each of the teachers, then also singular. Yeah. Now when you're using gerunds, singular verb, running is my favorite sport. Right? The coach thought swimming was one of the most effective forms of exercise. Yeah. So this is in past tense, so we're using was, not were.
Said that they are working for this.
So what is the subject? They. So they are working. Huh? So walking here is not a gerund. Walking is a verb. If you said walking is my favorite pastime. Then walking is coming in as a gerund. Right? You have to see what is it coming in as. Is it coming in as a verb or is it coming in as a noun? So if we say walking is my favorite pastime, then it is coming in as a noun. If I say he loves walking, it's a verb. Right? You have to be able to identify. So here, to visit the Grand Canyon. That's the infinitive. So it comes in as a singular. To visit the Grand Canyon is my lifelong dream. To do something, that comes in as an infinitive form of the noun. Right? Now, when you're talking about collectives, we did that earlier also. Collectives are always singular. Whether, say this one, the chain of large businesses. So here, what is your subject? Again, you have the compound subject. The chain of large businesses vows to stop poaching plants from smaller stores. So what is the subject here? You have the chain of large business. That's a compound subject. So what is the subject that is referred to over here? Now break it down. It consists of two subjects, the chain and large businesses. The chain of, so what is the subject that you will be looking at to determine the verb? The chain. And the chain would be a collective. So we're talking about chain of large businesses, that will be collective. Right? And when you're talking about neither nor, then you have singular. Neither the city nor its constituency has an answer because both of these are singular. Because constituency is singular. Okay, now there's another very important thing which usually comes up is that when you have two singular nouns which refer to the same person, right? So when you're reading a sentence, you have to see, is there a comma between, or is there any other, anything else in between, any article in between? Say the principal and secretary of the school is presiding over the function. Why? The principal and secretary refer to the same person. Right? If you said the principal and the secretary of the school, then you have two different people. Right? Say my coach and advisor refers to the same person. So it will be a singular verb. If I say my coach and my advisor, then it will be two. Right? Okay, law and order. It will be singular. Bread and butter, law and order, these are subjects which come in as a singular idea. Mathematics, statistics, all these come in as singular. Now, when you're talking about a pair of things, how do you treat it as?
Singular.
Singular. A pair is always singular. Now, when you are talking about much more, little less, or a lot of, a great deal of, plenty of, what do you use? You'll be using singular or plural. That depends upon what you are talking about. Yeah. Say to say, much of his wealth has been wasted. So here, much of is referring to wealth. Now you have to see whether it is a countable subject, countable noun, or uncountable noun. If it is countable, this will be plural. If it is uncountable, it will be singular. Right? Got it? So if we say if you're using a lot of work has been finished. Now what is the subject? Work. Work is countable, uncountable. Uncountable. So
Uncountable.
has been finished. A lot of people. Plural. Why? People you can count. Yeah. Say most of the people, here you're using most of. Most of with something countable, plural. Most of with something uncountable, singular. So whenever you come across uncountable, you would have a singular verb. When you have countable, you have a plural verb. Right? So majority of, again, majority of people. Plural. Majority of the work, singular. Right? Okay. Now when you use a number of and the number of. Now when you say the number of, it usually gets a singular verb because you are specifying. When you say a number of, it will be plural. It will be plural. No, sorry. The number of is not specified. The number of is all of them together. Yeah. A number of, you are specifying. So it will become plural. Now, when you have something which is a collective, like the noun itself is in the collective form, you will be using singular. Like when you're talking about, say, United States, what's it is a collective. So, singular. Now, when you're doing these type of questions, another thing you have to remember is what is the part of the sentence that is underlined? If a particular part of the sentence is underlined for you, only that part can be changed. So if there is an error in that part, it can be changed. If there's an error in the other part, or like comparing two parts of a sentence, only the part underlined will be changed. If nothing is underlined for you, you can go with any of the options. So that man at the park are always shouting at the ducks.
The man.
So what is underlined?
That man at the park.
The first word.
That's okay.
That man at the park are always shouting at the ducks. So are always shouting at the ducks is underlined to you. So that's the part which you will change. So you will change it to is always shouting. Now if that man at the park is underlined for you and the rest is not underlined, so you can't change the or shout, always shouting. You will modify the first part. So those men will make it into plural. Yeah, so whatever is underlined for you should be, you have to see what can be changed there. Now you can go through these. We'll go through the examples. These we already did. Collective nouns, singular. Maybe look at this one. The form comes as singular or plural? Singular. So we already, it's, though it is of many people, but it's still collective. And if you have a compound subject and you have preposition in the middle, the group of people, then say the group of members are extremely passionate.
So that's why.
So your subject is the group, not the members. Yeah? So it will be singular. So if you get these things correct, at least you are sure to get these answers. If you're sure to get these answers correct, you can aim for full marks in the WL section. Right? Now the book with 5 chapters. What is the subject? The book. So simple. Now suppose we have this type of a sentence. The children who have eaten far more sweets than caution would naturally dictate was upset. Now what do you do? Identify the subject. What's the subject? The children. And you have a whole lot of information which is separated from the main sentence. Remove it. What do you get? Was upset. So it should be were upset. Yeah. So whenever you are confused, remove the extra information, come to the main sentence and figure out what the subject is and what the verb is. So this one. The cochineal, a small insect discovered by Hernan Cortes in present-day Mexico in 1915, were commonly used as a coloring in paint, sculpture, furniture, etc. So here, what is the subject? The cochineal is the subject. Now, whenever you see commas, you first figure out why the comma is used. Is it to separate or is it a continuation? Yeah, so here we have extra information. Main subject is the cochineal, verb is verb. So the cochineal, we know is singular, should be singular. So this one is now here. Beside the bench where one could smell the stench of rotten eggs, was or were a pack of philosophy majors gathering cans for recycling. What verb would you use? Yes, Nandini? Identify your subject. What is the verb referring to? Now, it's not always that the subject that comes first will be the one that the verb can be paired with. Read it carefully and see what is the subject that is taking the verb. Yes, Nihat, are you there?
Yes.
So what is the subject that is taking the verb was or were? A pack of philosophy majors. Now, a pack of philosophy majors. So, what will the verb be? Was a pack. So, what's your main subject here now? A pack. Yeah, it's all philosophy majors, but the main subject is a pack, which is a collective noun. So, your verb is singular. Yeah. So it is important to identify the subject. So here, if you see, beside the bench where one could smell the stench of rotten eggs, those are all extra information. What is the main subject? There was a pack of philosophy pages. Right? Now, if you look at this one, the fox and knives are in the kitchen, and the jar with the Thai peanut sauce has or have been sitting in the refrigerator. Break down the sentence.
Has been sitting in the refrigerator.
So what is it referring to? What is your subject?
Jar with the jar.
Yeah. So your main subject is the jar.
Yeah, and jar is singular, so has is the most appropriate option.
And here's one more. The collection of short stories, many of them written by authors in the 19th century England, including Jane Austen and C.S. Lewis, contains some of the preeminent works of fiction today. Your underlined portion is contains some of the preeminent works of fiction today. Is it correct?
Contains some of the.
Contains. So what is the subject?
Collection of short stories.
Collection of short stories. When you refer to collection of short stories, it is a collective noun.
Yeah, plural.
It is singular. Contains.
Works collective contains some of the works of fiction.
Contains some of the preeminent works of fiction. Works of fiction is okay because it says written by many authors. Yeah, so it is works, but it is a collection. So the collection is the main subject which the word refers to. Right? So even if you have a lot of subjects, you have to be able to identify what is the main subject. So can I read this one? Question number 1 and 2.
Option D.
Option B.
D for dog.
Okay. So you have succulents have become popular house plants as of late. And then it goes on, a few details suggest.
It should be suggested.
The details. Yeah. So details, it is plural. It will be suggest.
Ma'am, also there has been used have. So have is again singular. So it should be suggest.
Have is singular plural.
Here it is used for singular. So
Succulents have become popular household plants. Succulents, they are referring to all the succulents. Here, succulents are not referred to as succulents are referred to as plural over here.
okay.
Yeah? And your underlined portion is a few details. So details would be plural. Okay. Okay, now coming to number 2. Requires
So they require
Hmm.
very little water. Uh, some-
Option C.
So you have option C. The plants are adapted to arid climates, so they require. Yeah. So number 3. Yeah. So we have furthermore, all succulent encompasses a wide variety of unusual forms. Now you won't say all succulent because it refers to a group of plants. So the plants, so succulents encompass. Okay, 4, 5, 6 you can do. Yeah. Minus 1 little thing that is left here, logical comparisons, and then we can go to the conclusions. Now, when you are coming across some sentences which have comparisons in them, there are a few things you have to keep in mind. What are they? What is being compared? Number 1. Right? So when you are talking about comparisons, first is what is being compared and the logic behind the comparisons. Yeah. So whenever you come across words like that, say, or you have while, like, unlike, means something is being compared. Now, when you are comparing, you'll always be comparing things that are equivalent, the same type of things. So you won't be comparing something to the group it belongs to, or you won't be comparing somebody's qualities to a person. You'll be comparing qualities to qualities, qualities of a person to qualities of another person. So you have to see what is whether it is in a possessive form or it is just two particular things that are being compared. And another thing you have to remember, that is, and in comparisons, the parallel structure of sentences comes in. Yeah. So if the sentence is in parallel structure, you know the comparison is correct. So what is being compared? I say this example. Okay, now what are you looking for? The clues that you get, this is important here. So you look for the keywords like, unlike, as, that, as soon as good as white as, yeah, or this is not as wet as that. Now, if you have full names, that is, you are comparing people, then people to people, yeah. Usually you don't come. And if you're comparing adjectives, then usually you have this as coming in. as good as, or as intelligent as. Yeah. Yes, you saying something?
If a person is meant for his quality, so you have to also mention its qualities and we are comparing like Captain James Bond is known for his captaincy for the ocean. So if I say that yeah, Nam is Nam's captaincy is as good as James Bond. Yeah.
As good as, not as good as James Bond, as good as James Bonds. So when you are talking about a quality, a person's quality to another person's quality. So a quality cannot be compared to the person. Quality has to be compared to the person's quality. So it should be in a person. Either you write the whole thing, or it should imply that this belongs to him. Right? We come to some examples. Okay, when you're talking about parallel structure or the form of the word, it takes much less time to drive there than it does flying. So is this in the parallel structure? So what are you comparing? It takes much less time to
drive.
there and fly. So either it should be to drive there than to fly, yeah, than it does to fly, or now
Drive.
again you won't say than fly, because what are you comparing? Time. So it takes much less time to drive than it does to fly. So if your sentence is in the parallel form, then you know that okay, your comparison is correct. Or you would say it takes much less time driving there than it does flying. Both will be correct. Either to drive to fly or driving flying. Yeah. When you compare, it will be like what is being compared. So let's see this one. She had a hard time choosing between signing up for swimming and soccer as an elective. There's an error here. What are we comparing?
Swimming
So
and
she had a hard time choosing between what? Signing up for swimming?
no
And
comparison.
so in this sentence, what is being compared? Signing up for swimming is being compared to just soccer. Yeah, either it should be signing up between signing up for swimming and signing up for soccer, but that will be a little redundant. So repetition comes in. So we have to change the sentence in such a way that the meaning is revealed correctly and the comparison is also correct. So she was signing up for what? What was the choice? Choice was between soccer and swimming. Yeah. So that choice should come in separately. Signing up should come in separate. So if we say she had a hard time choosing between swimming and soccer when signing up for the elective, that makes it clear. Yeah. So the comparison should be clear. Now let's look at some. Okay, again, when you come across an in word, what do? See what form it is. If it is in a gerund form, then the other word in the in should also be a gerund form. If it is verb, then it should be verb. Like freezing ice is easy if you own a refrigerator with a freezer. Here, what is freezing used as? What is freezing used as? It's a verb or a gerund?
Gerund.
It's a jelly. So it says freezing ice utility. Yeah. And if you talk about the ice was freezing cold, that's an adjective. Freezing cold. Yeah, it comes in as an adjective. Okay, now if we look at this one. So when we say that you should compare similar things, what do we mean? We look at the sentence. Wandering around the furniture store, she decided that while burgundy and top would work well in a living room, bright aquamarine lampshade would probably hog the spotlight. What is being compared? You have while, so you know something is being compared, right? So now what are the things that are being compared? So while burgundy and top, so burgundy and top are what? Colors. Would work well in a living room. That is one part. The bright aquamarine lampshade would probably have the spotlight. So you have colors on one part and a colored object in the other part. So would you compare colors to objects? No, you would either compare colors to colors or objects to objects. So either you would be removing the object from the second part, or you would add objects to the colors in the first part, right? So comparison should always be between equals. So we can say, wandering around the furniture store, she decided that while burgundy and top would work well in a living room, bright aquamarine would probably hog the spotlight. So all colors. Or you can say she decided that while burgundy drapes and top carpet would work well in a living room, the bright aquamarine lampshade would probably hog the spotlight. So you are adding objects. So what you are comparing now? You are comparing objects. Right? Now, okay, these are usually sentences we come across. Which is larger, the population of New York or Los Angeles? Anything wrong?
Ma'am, this sentence is making it sound like the comparison is happening between New York and Los Angeles, whereas the actual comparison is happening between the population of the two.
So if we are comparing the population, so what should we say? It should be the population of New York compared to population of Los Angeles. So if you say which is larger, the population of New York or the population of Los Angeles, we can say that, but then it will be a repetition. Rather, we could say the population of New York or of Los Angeles or that of Los Angeles. Yeah, so it should be clear what we are comparing. Like this one. I think that Sheila's painting is much more original than Bob. What are we comparing?
Sheila's painting and Bob's painting.
Bob's painting. So here, what should it be? It should be Bob's painting. Yeah, or that of Bob. Now this is one more. A cheetah is faster than any land mammal. What are we comparing? Cheetah to other land mammals. Now there is one little problem over here. You would not be comparing any item to the group it is belonging to. You can compare an item to the items in that group. Yeah. So cheetah is a land mammal. So you won't say cheetah is faster than any land mammal. You would rather say cheetah is faster than other land mammals or any other land mammal. So then it becomes like, okay, other people in this group. Yeah. So any individual will not be compared to a group. Individuals will be compared to individuals of group. Yeah. Okay, so you can do these exercises. Right. right? Remember the rules and do the exercise. Okay, now coming to the punctuations. Yeah, so Nidini, what was the problem you were having with the punctuations?
I had two doubts. I didn't understand the use of a hyphen and a semicolon.
Hyphen and semicolon. They're two
Yeah.
completely different things. Okay, so we'll just quickly go through the rules of using them and then and how they are used. So when you're talking about a hyphen, yeah. So hyphens can come in as a like single dash or double dash. Now we came across the use of double dash in one of the sentences. What did the double dash do? It separated an additional information in the middle of a sentence. Yeah, that is one purpose of dashes. And second thing, a dash can be used at the end of a sentence to separate either an important information at the end of the sentence, something that can be stressed upon, or some information, some additional information at the end of the sentence, or a list at the end of the sentence. Yeah. So when you have a single dash, it usually comes towards the end of the sentence, and the portion after the sentence, whatever is being highlighted or a list, should be the end. So the full stop should come after that. Yeah. Whereas if it comes in the middle of a sentence, it should be two dashes combined together. Yeah. Now, one important rule when using a dash. Now, a dash can also be replaced by colon. Same purpose at the end of the sentence. Yeah. But one important rule that you have to keep in mind when you're using a dash or a colon at the end of the sentence is the portion before the colon or the dash. What should it be? Independent clause. Yeah. So you have an independent clause, then you have a dash or a colon and some additional information after that. Whereas if you have two dashes, say here, London dash, which is a very old city dash, has many few buildings. Now, what is the purpose of the two dashes? Some additional information in the middle of the sentence. Now, this is where a question may arise. You may have a dash on one side and a comma on the other, right? Which is again wrong. Either now any additional information in the middle of the sentence. Now, how do you know it is an additional information? Yeah, it can refer to the subject. Anything else? If you remove that from the sentence, the rest of the sentence is still a complete sentence and makes sense. Yeah. So in this case, if I say London has many new buildings, that's a complete sentence, right? Now, when I say London dash, which is a very old city, dash has many new buildings, that also makes sense. Now, only thing you have to remember is dash should be followed by dash, or it should be either a pair of dashes or a pair of commas, right? You won't have one dash and one comma. That is one thing you have to remember. So any dash coming in the middle of the sentence, you have to see why is it there? What is it paired with? Is the purpose to so when you're talking about why is it there, you have to see what is the purpose. So when you talk about the purpose, is it used to separate some additional information in the middle of the sentence? Then dash dash or comma comma. Now if we come to the end of the sentence, say this one. London has many tourist attractions, dash, museums, palaces, and monuments. What is the dash doing? It is giving you, okay, London has many tourist attractions. What are they? A list of things. So your dash can be used or colon can be used. Now, if you are using a dash or colon, what do you have to remember? The part of the sentence before. What is it? London has many tourist attractions. Is it independent clause? Yes, yes, right? So then this is correct. Now, another thing a single dash can do is, it can set up something important coming after the independent clause, or something that you want to stress upon. Say if you say there's only one thing we can do now, dash run. So instead of putting in a complete sentence after that, like if we don't use dash and run, there's only one thing we can do now, full stop. We can run, right? So to make it concise, dash done, that is emphasizing on something and making it concise. So this comes very handy, as I said earlier also. This strategy comes handy when you are working with your essays in your application, and you have to write everything in, say, 200 words. So make it concise. So all these things can come in over there. Otherwise, when you come to the rule, any single dash part before should be independent clause. Same thing with a colon. So in a colon also a list can come after that, or a quotation, or example, or definition. Yeah, you usually use some this follows, colon, whatever you want to say. Right? And for colon also, part before the colon should be independent clause. Okay? Okay, so now where to use dashes, how to use dashes and colons here?
Can we say that the dash and comma?
Yeah, dash can be replaced with a comma. If the dash is, say, not used properly, maybe if you see another thing, there again, you have to see what the comma is used for. We come to the commas. Now we come to the semicolon first. Yeah, where is the semicolon used? A semicolon is usually used to separate two parts of a sentence when both the parts are independent clauses. Yeah. So two parts of a sentence, both independent clauses, you can use a semicolon. Right? Or you have two sentences, you want to combine them together, you have no other option, you can use a semicolon. But the rule for using semicolon, the part before, part after, both should be A, independent clauses, B, ideas should be related. If the ideas are not related, you will use a period, that is a full stop. Okay? Clear? So semicolon is not a replacement of a comma. As such, it can replace a comma. When, say, you have two independent clauses, the only comma will not come in. If in a sentence you have two independent clauses with only a comma in the middle, that is wrong. Either you should have a comma with a fanboys conjunction. Now, comma with fanboys conjunction can be replaced by a semicolon. Right? The semicolon can replace comma fanboys conjunction or a full stop if the ideas are related and the two parts are independent clauses. So if two parts of a sentence are independent clauses, what can come in the middle? Three things can come. Yeah? Not colon. Comma with conjunction. Say if a conjunction is not there after the comma, it's an error that which we call comma splice. Right? So comma, conjunction, or semicolon, both are correct. So comma with fanboys conjunction, for, and, no, so, but, yet, or these are the fanboys conjunctions. Okay, so semicolon is used to separate two clauses if both the clauses are independent. Yeah. Say we have this one. Jim rode his bike, Mary walked. Both independent clauses. We can use a full stop in the middle, or we can join it with a semicolon. Yeah. Now, if we have only a comma, would it be correct?
No, comma.
We should have a conjunction. Jim rode his bike, comma, and Mary walked, or but Mary walked, both will be correct. Okay. Now another place where semicolons come in is when we have a list. Now items in the list are usually separated with the help of commas. But if even one item in the list has a comma in the middle, then what do? We separate the items in the list with the help of semicolons. Say we look at this one. On our trip, we visited Washington, comma, DC, semicolon, Chicago, comma, Illinois, semicolon, and New York, comma, New York. So what do we have here? We visited Washington, comma, DC. So Washington in DC. Yeah. So that is one item. Second item, Chicago, comma, Illinois. Now we have a comma in the item itself. So identify the items, you find commas in the middle of the item, separate the items with the help of semicolons. So these are the two uses of semicolons. Separating independent clauses, separating items in the list with commas in the middle. Right? Okay. So if we look at the next one.
So ma'am, here, there is Chicago, comma, and the semicolon and. Well, there should not be and.
There should be and.
And we
Here we have a list. The list, the function of the punctuation in the list is the same as in the comma. So when you have commas in the list, say you have 4 items in a list, X, comma, Y, comma, Z, or say X, 3 items, X, comma, Y, comma, and Z. Last item in the list will always have comma and before it. So same thing here, comma and is replaced with semicolon and. So when you have a list of things, the rule of commas still applies. Right? Only that we have a comma in the middle, so we cannot use a comma after. Okay? Now if you look at the next one, I packed my sleeping bag, a pop-up tent, comma, which I had borrowed from a friend and only used a few times, and a cast iron skillet, and some popcorn to bring on the camping trip. So what are the items? My sleeping bag, a pop-up tent, which I had borrowed from one. So now there's a comma in the middle. So comma in the middle of even one item, you will separate all the items with semicolons. Right? So this you have to remember, this is very important. Okay? So now when you have a semicolon, the before after test you will be doing independent before, independent after, semicolon is correct. Now when you are talking about commas, so when you are using commas, again, commas can come between two independent clauses, but there should be a conjunction. Right? Rule number 1. Now when you have non-essential information in the middle of the sentence, you can use 2 dashes or 2 commas. or parenthesis. And when you use parenthesis, you can use a comma after the second parenthesis, not before the first one. So, and when you use two dashes, also, you don't use commas along with dashes, right? Okay. Now, so if you are setting off introductory information in a sentence, so you have, say, an important information in the beginning of the sentence, which is a, say, modifier. A modifier in the beginning of the sentence, there is an extra information, comma after that. The rest of the sentence will be an independent clause, right? Modifier or non-essential information in the middle of the sentence, commas on both sides. Non-essential information or modifier at the end of the sentence, comma before that. Yeah. So any additional information wherever you have, beginning of the sentence, after that. Middle of the sentence, both sides, end of the sentence, before that. Separate the main sentence or the independent clause from the non-essential information or the modifier with the help of commas. You remember that? More than enough. Yeah. So you have this one. Because London is a very old city, it has buildings from many different eras. So we have a comma in the middle. Is that correct? This one, because London is a very old city, it has buildings from many different eras.
It's correct.
It's correct. Why? Why?
Because they both are not independent clauses in
So the first one is a dependent clause. Second one is an independent clause. If the first one is a dependent clause, you can use a comma. Or if the first one is a non-essential information but still an independent clause, then also you can use a comma. Yeah. You have to see why the comma is used. Purpose of the comma determines whether it is correct or not. Like when you have say transitions, like however, if it is in the middle of the sentence, comma after it. If it is in the beginning of the sentence, comma after it. Because, therefore, however, comma after it. Right? So this you have to remember. You can mark it as important. Put a comma after a modifier that starts a sentence. Comma right before a modifier that ends a sentence. And comma surrounding modifier in the middle of the sentence. Right? So then if this purpose is being solved, then you know the comma is correct. Otherwise, if it is a dependent clause first, independent clause after that, comma, only comma can come in. Two independent clauses, comma should be accompanied by parenthetical statement. Yeah. Only comma alone cannot exist between two independent clauses if one of the clauses doesn't come in as a modifier. And in a list, last item, comma, and. Yeah, so these are the different. Okay, another place where comma is used is when you are quoting something. He said, comma. He asked, comma. And another important thing, when you have quotations, when you're using quotations, any punctuation that comes at the end of the quotation should be inside the quotation. Yeah, that you have to remember. So in this case, because it just makes sense, comma, inverted comma, she replied. It won't be inverted commas, comma after that. The comma should come inside. Yeah. Okay, such as, very important. I hope you remember. When do you use, where do you use a comma with such as? Okay, you're using examples. Now, something important is comma before such as, not after such as. It's very important. SAT is very important. I'm very fond of commas with that and commas with such as. Which, such as, and that. We should remember where to use a comma. Comma can come before such as, not after such as. Comma doesn't come in with that, not before, not after. Comma can come in before which. Yeah, this you have to remember. So if you have a sentence like that, teachers give out a variety of homework assignments, such as worksheets, hands-on projects, and online quizzes. Comma will be before such as, not after such as. Yeah.
So in any case,
Mhm. I can't hear you, Nandini.
So in any case, like there will be no comma after such as, it will always be before.
Always be before such as.
Okay.
Yeah. So just a little bit of where not to use a comma, then you will be able to. Now SAT will come up with these like misplaced commas. Commas everywhere should know. Whenever you come across a comma, you should know. You see, is it used correctly or not? Don't ignore commas. And commas are not just to give pauses. Commas have a purpose. Yeah, and they follow rules. So if you say London is a very old city, comma, it has some extremely modern parts, that would be incorrect. Why?
Because there is no conjunction after
So both, you have to see, is the comma separating dependent and independent clauses or both independent clauses? In this case, it is both independent clauses. So only comma will not come in. It should have a conjunction, and the conjunction should give the relationship between the two parts. So you can have a but, comma, but would be correct, or semicolon. If none of these options are available, use a full stop to separate it into two sentences. Right? So these are the three options that can come.
Ma'am, but if we use full stop, then like the both the sentences will have a different meaning altogether, right? Like it won't be joining the two sentences.
Yeah, so if you, depends upon the, that's why I said, depends upon the options you get. So you are choosing between now, when you are writing yourself, you have to keep it in mind that yes, when you have two things which have the same idea, you join them together. You can use a semicolon or a comma and a conjunction. But in SAT, if you have to go by the options given to you. Now, in the options, you don't have a semicolon, you don't have a comma and conjunction. And the sentence given to you has only comma between two independent clauses. So what do? You look for the options which can separate the two independent clauses with the help of a full stop. Right? So these are the three options that are correct. Only comma in the middle of two independent clauses is not correct. That much you have to remember. Okay. Now just once more.
There's a paragraph and comma comes in the sentence. What changes meaning of the paragraph?
Between two paragraphs,
Between
two sentences.
paragraph.
Now, what? That's what I said. If you have in a paragraph, you have two sentences. Rules are same. Comma conjunction should come in. If the comma conjunction is not there between two independent clauses, then replace with the help of semicolon or full stop. Yeah. Okay. So Now, before and after that, comma cannot be used. Now, if that is implied, say the snow used to build an igloo instead of the snow that is used to build an igloo. You also, if you read the sentence, the snow used to build an igloo, you won't use a comma after snow. Yeah. So here it implies that the snow that is used to build an igloo. Or if you have which, then you could use a comma. If you just have the snow used to build an igloo, no comma. Right? People do use in literature, we do use comma, but that's not grammatically. Okay, now when you're using parenthesis, no comma before parenthesis. Now, if you are looking at a comma after parenthesis, again, you have to see if you remove the portion within the parenthesis, what is the rest of the sentence? Now, in this case, remove the part in between the parentheses. You will come up with a double comma then. Yeah. So no comma first, but the second comma is correct or not? You have to see comma but. First part is independent, second part is independent, comma but. Correct. Yeah. But if you have only comma and not but, then it will be wrong.
So that we are comma after use.
If there's a comma after a parenthesis, you have to check whether it is correctly used or not. Remove the portion of the sentence within the parenthesis, with the parenthesis, and see what is the rest of, and read the rest of the sentence. And check if the comma is correctly used. Right? Similarly, if you have two dashes and you come up and there's a comma after the second dash, you remove the portion with the dashes, read the rest of the sentence. Okay? So that's about all. Comma splice we already discussed. Only comma between two independent clauses cannot exist. Yeah. One of the so you can have different ways of correcting this. Either use a semicolon, comma conjunction, and if you don't have any of those options, then if you look at this one, Alex cooks his brownies with lard, comma, they taste great. Is it correct? Read the two parts. Do they sound like independent clauses?
No, it's not correct. We can either use and after comma, or we can use because before the sentence.
Yeah. So if you use because before the first one, yeah, then you can, then only comma can come in, because this becomes a dependent clause. So if you convert the independent clause into a dependent clause with the help of a transition, then you can have a comma in between.
One can put and before they.
Yeah, you can use and before they. If you don't have that option, you have an option where your transition is used before the sentence. That makes the first part of the sentence dependent. You can use a comma. So dependent, comma, independent is correct. Independent, comma, independent is not correct. Okay. So now I think you have item and series we already discussed. Yeah. So punctuations are clear. Any other doubts? No? Okay. So now what you have to do is you have to practice the exercises. Go back to all the exercises from sessions 1 to session 10. Session 9, sorry. Session 9 and then session 11. Complete all the exercises that are in each session. Before you move on to the, so you still have time. So complete all the exercises, write down your doubts, whatever doubts you have, we will solve. Okay? Next class we'll be starting with EBR, the reading section. Yeah? Yeah, you can come up with a doubt. We'll solve the doubt. Any doubts, any variables? You should keep a doubt pending. If you keep a doubt pending, it will never get solved, you will make the same mistake. Yeah. Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye.